Piling works involve large heavy equipment such as piling rigs, cranes and excavators. Without proper training, there are potential serious safety risks to workers who interact with this equipment. This animation shows some of the key safety requirements of working on and around a piling site. When moving machinery around site, a piling offsider must be used to help guide the machinery operator. The piling offsider must be visible to the machine operator, and there must be positive communication between the piling offsider and the operator, such as a wave or a thumbs up, prior to any machine movements. Site personnel must remain well clear of moving machinery and must never stand in the way of mobile plant or of a moving or reversing vehicle. On a piling site, there are 3 piling control zones, each with different requirements. The foundation work zone is the entire area required for the piling contractor and is restricted to foundation operators, workers and other authorised personnel. The foundation work zone is to be delineated and/or fenced off as shown prior to commencement of work. The rig operating zone is an area inside the foundation work zone around the piling rig and the ancillary equipment, and is restricted to piling operatives and approved other workers. The exclusion zone is a high-risk zone inside the rig operating zone in the immediate vicinity of the piling auger. The exclusion zone is to be defined by temporary fencing or barricading as shown. No worker can enter the exclusion zone while the piling rig is operating, unless there is positive communication between the rig operator and the piling offsiders. During piling operations, workers should always maintain their awareness around operating plant and must never enter the piling rig operator blind spots, swing radius, or the exclusion zone whilst the machine is operating. Workers should only enter high-risk areas when the rig has stopped operating and/or when positive acknowledgement has been received from the rig operator. If work is required in the exclusion zone, this must only occur once the auger has been isolated or there is positive communication between the rig operator and the piling offsiders. When the spoil truck is reversing to the amassed spoil heap, workers must stand well clear of the vehicle and must never enter the reversing truck's blind spots. Workers should always maintain visual contact with the truck driver. If visible contact is not possible between the worker and the truck driver, positive communication must be maintained or a piling offsider used. Once stationary, the truck driver must stay in the truck cab at all times, or in a designated safe area if he's required to leave the cab of the truck or work area. During truck loading, workers should maintain visible contact with the excavator operator at all times, and must not stand in the excavator operator's blind spot and swing radius area shown. If the worker needs to enter a high-risk area, the truck loading operations must stop and the worker must receive acknowledgement from the excavator operator. During craneage and lifting operations, workers should stand clear of the crane and must never enter the crane operator's blind spots or the crane swing radius. Workers must never stand under a suspended load. Workers must always maintain positive visual contact with the crane operator, and if required to enter high-risk areas, a piling offsider or a form of positive communication must be used. Where practical, workers are to stay clear of the boom jibbing line and the line of sight between the load and the crane operator. The crane dogman must always check the crane blind spots for plant and equipment or other items that may have been placed there and communicate any issues to the crane operator. The dogman must receive acknowledgement from the crane operator following all communications. During a concrete pour, workers should maintain visible contact with the concrete truck driver at all times and must not stand in between the pile hole or casing, the concrete truck, and the blind spots of the concrete truck. If a worker needs to enter the zone between the truck and the pile hole or casing, the concrete truck must stop and the worker must receive acknowledgement from the concrete truck driver that the worker is entering this zone. Entering the blind spot of the truck may be required to adjust the chute. During piling works where a casing is used, it's left in place depending if it's temporary or permanent. If it's temporary, it's removed once the pile is poured. If it's permanent, it's left in place. When the casing is in place, it acts as a physical barrier to the pile hole. To conclude, workers on site have a responsibility to stay clear of pinch points and areas of risk where they can be struck by plant. Workers need to adhere to the work zone requirements and maintain positive communication on site when it's required. This training session is designed to assist individual companies in working with their foundation teams to review and improve their existing foundation activities.